Chicago outfit boss Sam Giancana once said, Hollywood and the mob are just two sides to the same coin. This week, Mafia historian and true crime author Scott Deitche stops by to talk about organized crime's influence on Hollywood. Enjoy.
So organized crime had its tentacles in a lot of different aspects of the entertainment industry. For a large swath of the 20th century, there was some kind of mob influence or organized crime influence in various aspects of the film industry. One was through some of the unions. Another was through, it's kind of alluded to in The Godfather, providing vice for actors and people involved in the movie industry. So there was, in terms of organized crime in Los Angeles, the Hollywood area, there was a Los Angeles mafia family, an endemic mafia family there. You had guys like Mickey Cohen who were involved in different kind of tangential aspects of the movie industry. And then you had other East Coast mobsters, most famously Bugsy Siegel, came over to hang out in Hollywood. There was certainly a lot of Hollywood actors, agents and stuff had dealings and ties and friendships with organized crime figures. And I'm thinking maybe a little bit more recently, James Caan had several close relationships with known mafia guys over the years.
What are you going to do? Nice college boy, huh?
Who had the most influence? Was it like Five Families? Was it Outfit?
Probably a little bit of the New York, Chicago outfit, and then the Los Angeles mafia family. And what you see in Los Angeles too are a lot of guys from the East Coast moving into LA to become part of that family and affiliating and working with them. And then, Chicago outfit, you mentioned Johnny Roselli, certainly well-known crime figure and kind of a man about town in Beverly Hills. He was implicated in kind of a weird case where they were running card games at the Friars Club in Beverly Hills, and the mob had like cameras up in the walls, and they were able to view some of the other player cards. So they were basically cheating and kind of taking people for a lot of money.
When it comes to the image of Hollywood and the mob, you've seen it in The Godfather, of course. And why do you think the concept and the image of the gangster has been romanticized over the years?
I think this idea it kind of maybe goes back to like the Robin Hood thing of like, the kind of the noble outlaw. And certainly as the movie industry really starts to pick up steam in the 1920s and early 30s, that coincides with the Prohibition era. And what are the mob really providing there? Alcohol that everybody wants. So, it's kind of, I think that kind of timeline helps this kind of romanticizing of the mafia, and certainly the early depictions of them, even though, movies like Scarface or Little Caesar, they're not always the nicest guys, having them be stars of Hollywood and movies.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
But Marilyn Monroe, because of her Kennedy ties, there have always been various conspiracy theories about her death. And one of them came out in a book about Sam Giancana, who's the longtime mob boss of the Chicago outfit. He was involved with like Phyllis McGuire, the McGuire sisters, and he had some, connections to Marilyn Monroe. And supposedly that he or other members of the Chicago outfit faked her killed her and made it look like a suicide. So there certainly are some conspiracy theories around Monroe's death relating to organized crime.
When you strip away, the Hollywood imagery and the fancy suits, the dinners, the expensive cars, what do you think people would find most surprising about the real world of organized crime?
So from guys I talked to, like the street level guys, how mundane it could be.
Really?
It's stressful. Yeah.
Stressful.
Stressful and mundane both at the same time. Very stressful, obviously, especially if you're, worried about some guy's going to rob you, steal from you, kill you. All this kind of backstabbing, the lack of honor. Guys talking to law enforcement. You don't know if, the guy you're doing a job with is going to turn around and rat you out. So there's certainly a stress element, but also some guys I've talked to said, it's not all glitz and glamour. There's a lot of kind of mundane kind of stuff. There's not a regular 9 to 5 job for a lot of these guys. So it's kind of trying to hit the street, look for the next score.
there any organized crime that still has a meaningful influence and presence in Hollywood today?
Yeah, there hasn't really been a lot of direct organized crime influence in the film industry for some time. Well, the above ground film industry, what starts happening in the 70s with the rise of the porn industry is heavy mafia involvement in that, certainly in the San Fernando Valley and other areas around Los Angeles. And there was absolutely significant organized crime involvement from that, both in LA and New York, with that part of the film industry. Um, but nowadays, with the mafia really being so diminished from what it was, that there hasn't really been any indication that there's been involvement there.
All right. Well, before we wrap it up, new book. Tell us about Jersey Boss.
Yeah, Jersey Boss is my latest book. It's about Jerry Katina, Gerardo Katina. He was a pretty significant mafia figure in New Jersey. He was born in 1902 and died in 2000, so kind of spans the entire 20th century. He was very successful, legitimate businessman, very involved in things like Bally gaming and the slot machine industry. He was kind of went under the radar, but was extremely successful and did something that a lot of mafia bosses don't get to do. He retired and basically spent the last almost 20 years of his life playing golf in Florida and kind of became kind of like an elder statesman of the mob. So it's kind of a fascinating story of his rise in New Jersey and how he expands his empire, but really also kind of paralleling that to the fact that had times been different, he'd born 20, 30 years later, he probably would have been a very successful, purely just legitimate businessman. He had a really good business sense about him.
Wow. Yeah, you don't see that kind of longevity in that line of work.
No, not at all. Very few.
Interesting. All right. Well, that is all I have. I appreciate you taking the time twice.
Absolutely.